Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to our Healthy Hearts session, our culturally tailored nutrition and lifestyle education. Today, we have a very important topic. We're going to talk about fats. Do we have bad fats? Do we have good fats? Emerging evidence shows that we probably just have a continuum and that we shouldn't really classify fats as bad or good. Now, to help us understand and clarify the confusion around fats on the internet and on social media, we have a public health nutritionist, Dr. Phyllis Addo, who is going to talk to us about fats. Phyllis was my schoolmate back in Ghana. We started a master's program in nutrition together, and she's currently a lecturer. So I'm going to leave her to introduce herself, and then she would do the presentation. Phyllis, about 40 minutes or less, so we can have some time for question and answers at the end and have a discussion at the end as well. So, Dr. Addo, if you are ready, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Hibbah and the team, for having me. Like Hibbah rightly mentioned, my name is Phyllis Addo, and I work with the University of Health and Allied Sciences as a lecturer in public health nutrition. My background is in nutrition, first degree, master's degree, and a PhD in public health, specifically nutrition and food safety option. So my research area has been on the relationship between diet and diseases. So I've done works on childhood obesity, and more recently, I've been researching into trans fatty acids and the exposure in Ghana, as well as people's perception regarding these fatty acids. So it's a real pleasure being here today, and I look forward to a very fruitful sharing and learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. If you can share your slides and then go ahead.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes, as Hibbah rightly said, there are lots of controversies surrounding fats in general because of the effect on health. And so today we are going to discuss what is termed good or bad fat, and what fats really are, what they do to the body, and how we can eat fat in the right way to prevent diseases. The internet here is very poor, so since everyone has seen my face, I would put off my video just to ensure the bandwidth is okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
So yes, on fats. So what really are fats? We say fats, just like proteins and carbohydrates or any other nutrient in food, are important nutrients or substances in food. In a healthy diet, for a healthy diet, you need right proportion of fats to give you a balanced diet. So in summary, fat is a nutrient and it plays an important role in the body. Usually fats are in different groups. We have the scientific term, generally we call them lipids, and lipids are in different forms. The predominant lipids are what we termed as the triglycerides, which are they form about 90% of lipids. And so whenever we talk of lipids, we equate them to fats and oils, the triglycerides. And that is why lipids are generally called fats and oils. The difference between fats and oils are that oils are generally liquid at room temperature, and we get them from plant sources mostly. Sorry, my slide just. And then fats are solid or firm at room temperature, and they are mostly gotten from animal sources. So like I mentioned, oils, we get them from seed oils or nut oils. They are usually from plant sources. And fats, we have the butter and the lice. So can we say, or do we do away with fats totally in our diet? The answer is obviously no. I know there are a lot of diets, weight control diets, that is focused on taking the fats away so that people can lose weight. But we need to take very great caution when we do that, because fat plays a very important role to the body. It serves as a major source of energy to the body. When you compare the energy we get from carbohydrates to that from fat, fat provides twice as much energy to the body as carbohydrate does. So we often call it a concentrated source of energy. It also aids in the absorption of some vitamins, particularly the fat-soluble vitamins. So these vitamins would usually be digested and absorbed in a fatty medium. So when we don't have enough fat in our diet, these very important vitamins would be lacking in, we would be deficient in this diet. In these vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, and the like. So it's crucial for you to have good levels of fat-soluble vitamins in your body. You need fat. You need fat to do that. Also, when it comes to, so these are some of the dietary benefits of fat. I'll go into the physiological part, but when it comes to feeding or in foods, apart from fat adding taste to our foods, which could encourage consumption of food, it also helps in what we call satiety. Fat is able to fill you up when you eat foods with healthy fats. They fill you up and they prevent you from eating too much. When we come down to the body, we have a group of fats called steroids. When you talk of hormones, the hormones in the body, they are made from a group of fats called steroids. So the sex hormones, the female and male sex hormones are all made from fats, because these serve as the basic units for these hormones to be formed. So imagine taking fat totally out of your diet. You are not only losing the benefit from other nutrients, but also you are going to cause a lot of the instability in physiological activities in the body. We also know that fats also serve as insulation to the body and also help protect vital body organs. So these are a few benefits we get from fat and oils. So whenever anyone says cut fat totally out of your diet, you know that is a no-go area. So fats, although they've been tagged unhealthy or usually bad for the body, they have several functions that we cannot do away with. So we go into the types of fats. Broadly, we classify fats as either saturated or unsaturated. I'm going to go down, go a little down into a little chemistry about fats so that we appreciate what we mean by saturated and unsaturated. So permit me to skip this slide and come here. We have, when you see this image, we have what we call the saturated fats. We have generally the unsaturated fats, and we have what we call the trans fatty acids. When you take unsaturated fats, we have polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. We would say a fat is saturated. So when you see this picture, you are imagining that when you have your oil or your fat broken down into the smallest units, this is how the molecules appear. This is how they appear. So when you say a fat is saturated, it means that the molecules or compounds in this fat do not have what we call a double bond. So it's full. It cannot add any other compound to it. And they are usually in a straight shape. The essence of this is that when they are in straight shape, they are able to pack tightly with each other. And that is why saturated fats are often solid at room temperature. They are able to pack together and usually form solids at room temperature. Unlike the saturated fats, when you take unsaturated fatty acids, they have what we call the double bonds, and they can take more compounds or molecules and add them to their structure. Because of the double bond, they are usually bent in the shape. And when they are bent, if assuming you are packing the polyunsaturated fatty acid you see and the saturated fatty acid in the same container, you get less polyunsaturated fatty acids in the container compared to the saturated because of their shape. Because of how they are bent, it makes their structure very bulky. And this is why usually unsaturated fatty acids are mostly liquid at room temperature. It's all because of their shape, or what we call their orientation. And let's talk about these other one, these trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids are originally unsaturated fatty acids. Some people term unsaturated fatty acids as good fats. We will go into that later. But what happens is that in industry, these polyunsaturated fatty acids or monounsaturated fatty acids could be re-engineered to look like saturated fats for the purposes of industry, what they want to use this for. And I'll go into a little history when we get to why trans fatty acids are becoming a big deal now. So trans fatty acids, although originally they are unsaturated fatty acid, they should be bulky and they should be liquid at room temperature. Because of how the orientation, they've been made to behave like saturated fat. So they share similar properties with saturated fat. So they are usually semi-solid or solid at room temperature, and their shape is also in a straight form like saturated fatty acids. Now I'll go.
Dr. Addo,
yes,
that was a lot of chemistry.
Yes.
So please, if I should say, if you had to summarize that chemistry for us, I know you're trying to get us to understand, to appreciate the topic you are teaching today, but what would be the summary, something you would want us to take away from that chemistry? Because I'm sure a lot of us do not have chemistry as a background. Yes. Was there any particular thing you think we should remember about that? The chemistry.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's keep in mind that unsaturated fatty acids are usually liquid at room temperature, and saturated fats and trans fats, they are solid or semi-solid at room temperature because of the way, just by virtue of their shape or how they are arranged. Okay. And yes, and as a result of this, most of how they affect the body or how they influence our diet is coming from this simple arrangement, how they are arranged. That's why I took some time to go into it. Apologies about the lot of chemistry there.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. So yes, we come to, like I explained earlier, unsaturated fatty acids are usually termed good fats. Saturated fats or trans fats are termed bad fats. So I would take time here to explain again what trans fat is. Like I said, trans fats originally are good fats, but issues of saturated fat with effect on heart diseases, how they influence heart diseases in the negative sense, scientists had to go back and see what they could do with, move away from the butters, which are from the animal sources and were termed or were perceived unhealthy. So they thought, okay, why not use vegetable oils, which are healthy, and make them look like butter, or make them look a bit, make them look like solids, so that it can be used in commercial processes like baking and other things. So that's how trans fatty acid came about. So we would say trans fatty acid is an artificial form of the good fats, but because of the processes it undergoes, it's also termed bad fats. And once we go down there, we would explain why these trans fatty acids are also termed bad fats. So now let's come to good versus bad fats. What really are they when we say a fat is good or fat is bad? And before I move on, I should just let everyone understand that when you pick a particular food, we usually associate a food with a kind of fat or nutrient because that fat or nutrient is in abundance. That doesn't mean that there are no other fats in there. So let's say you take a typical vegetable oil. When you pick it and we say this vegetable oil, let's say olive oil, is a very good oil because it has a lot of the good fats. Let me not be using the scientific term. When you pick olive oil, you will still find some amount of what is termed a bad fat. saturated fat. So no oil is completely good or bad. It's like you have 100% saturated or 100% unsaturated. Most of the time, it's a mixture of these different fats in one place. But we will link that food or food source to that fat, because when you compare the ratios, it has more of that particular fat compared to the others. With that established, let's look at some sources of good fats. So we have like salmon, we call something oil fat, fish oils. So in salmon, they are very rich in fish oils, and these oils are very healthy oils. When you take all groups of nuts, peanuts, walnuts, cashew, and the rest, they're also very rich in what we termed good fat. Our favorite olive oil, popular olive oil too, is there. And then we go on to say you have food like tuna, you have food like soy milk, the pistachios, and the rest are all sources of good fat. Now, let's talk of, I'm careful to say, but it's termed in quotes, what is termed bad fat. These fats are usually termed bad because of how they affect the body. And I should say here that regardless of whether a fat is good or bad, how much you are consuming would tell, or the effect it has on the body is determined by how much you are consuming. So the fact that we're saying olive oil is a good fat doesn't mean you should be drinking a cup of olive oil every day, because they also come with their own negative effects once you exceed. Just like I explained earlier, fat is a good source of energy. If you are taking, it's a very rich source of energy. If you are taking more fats than the body, more oils than the body needs, then the body has to store this, and this will go a long way to increase your body weight, and it can also cause other problems for you. So regardless of whether good or bad, moderation is always the key. So we take saturated fats. Like I mentioned, these are typically solid at room temperature, and saturated fats are usually found in animal-based food, although we have some in plant-based foods. So these fats are linked with heart diseases, occurrence of heart diseases, and other cardiovascular diseases, or non-communicable diseases, I should say. When you take the trans fatty acids, I've explained how they are formed artificially, originally from good fats, but through the process of we call hydrogenation, they are changed to what we term bad fat. What these fats do to the body, I should explain. We have the famous cholesterol everybody is afraid of. Like I said, cholesterol falls in a category of lipid called steroids. The reason why issues of cholesterol is all over the place is that the body can produce enough cholesterol on its own. So without cholesterol from food sources, the body is fine. The body has the ability of producing enough cholesterol. And that is why we always recommend that we should reduce intakes of cholesterol in our diet, because the body has the ability of producing this cholesterol. And this cholesterol is needed, like I said, steroids, they are needed in production of hormones for the body, for its activities. What happens is that we have carriers. We have certain chemicals or proteins in the body that carry either the fat where it should go for the body to use, or when the body doesn't need that fat, it takes it out of the body. What these two fats does is that they are able to increase the chemical or the carrier which takes fat or cholesterol from the blood and takes it to the organ, spreads it in the body to the organ. So both saturated fat and trans fat will carry cholesterol from the bloodstream and spread it to the organ, or carry it through to the organs. And that creates problem, because if cholesterol is carried to a place where it's not needed, for instance, in the blood vessels, it gets clogged somewhere, other substances in the blood can pile up with this cholesterol, and with time, if it keeps moving in the blood vessel do not have the same size. So as the vessel narrows or becomes smaller, these can clog in there and it can create problems. So when you have these, what we call plaque, getting stuck in a vessel that leads to the brain, it can result in what we call stroke. That is how come people get stroke. And if you have it getting clogged in a vessel that is supplying blood to the heart itself, the person can suffer heart attack. And that's why we term this. What trans fat does is, it does not only increase the bad cholesterol or the carrier or the substance that carry cholesterol to the organs, it also reduces what we call the good one. The good cholesterol carries cholesterol from the blood, takes it to an organ in the body where it can be processed and be gotten rid of, so it doesn't affect your body. And this is why people have often termed these fats bad fats. I'm explaining why these fats are often termed as bad fats. It's because of the ability to affect these substances that carry cholesterol around in the blood. So let's look at some of the food sources. When you pick animal food products, meat and other forms of animal foods, you have what we call saturated fats in there. So if you go to a shop and you get meat, you check, especially under the skin of, for instance, you pick the skin of chicken, you can see some fats lying there. Some fats are very obvious, others too, they are not too visible. They can be dispersed within the meat or protein. So we just have to be careful how we choose our food. And then also butter, shortenings in cheese and in milk. So there are smarter ways of getting these foods because they are good for the body, but you want to get it in a way that won't affect the body negatively. Also, when we take our tropical oils, they've been labeled they've been given a bad name of being bad fats. But like I explained earlier, if you pick palm oil, although you have a good amount of saturated fats in there, palm oil also contains very good fats. So it's quite misleading when we tell people that, oh, palm oil is not healthy, it's saturated. Coconut oil is not healthy, so don't take it. Like I mentioned, the key thing is doing this in moderation, because aside the saturated fats in there, they're also very rich in unsaturated fats, which are termed the good fats. Eating too much
Phyllis, can I come in here, please?
Yes,
I really would like you to re-echo that point about coconut oil and palm oil, because yes, a lot of the times, people do say these are really bad oils. If you could just re-echo that point about we tend to eat a lot of coconut oil and palm oil within our community. Just re-echo that point for me so we can remember. Yeah.
All right. So like I said earlier, we usually would link a food source to a particular kind of fat because that fat is in abundance compared to the other fat. But no oil or fat has only one kind in. Usually you have variety or different kinds of fat in there. So what I said was, although tropical oils like palm oil and coconut oil have good amount of saturated fats, they are also very rich, they also have some amount of unsaturated fats, which we term the good fat. So it's very wrong to rule out this in our diet and say, do not consume palm oil, do not consume coconut oil. The same applies to olive oil. Although olive oil is tagged good, it has some amount of saturated fats in there. Do we say because olive oil has some amount of saturated fats in there, we are not going to eat it at all? So it's important we are guided by these and choose our oils, or we should take them in moderation. That's the key. Moderation is the key.
Thank you. A friend of mine has this thing she says about oils. She always says that she thinks it's propaganda. that olive oil is not produced in our parts of the world where we come from. So she's always like, I don't understand why people are always saying our coconut oils and palm oil are unhealthy and that olive oil. So she's always saying that she thinks there's propaganda from some other parts of the world to try and push olive oil and then discard our oils. But thank you for clarifying that. So the key is moderation. You know, we are not saying people should stop eating coconut oil or palm oil. You've understood the fact that it has a lot more saturated fats, but it also has other fats. It has other nutrients as well. So we just have to be, conscious of the way we use our oils. Olive oil might be tagged as healthy, but again, if we cooked the way most of us cook and have a layer of olive oil on our foods, we are not helping ourselves.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Phyllis.
Yes, thank you, Hibbah. And I should add here, I see a very worrying trend. On our national television, you see celebrities frying with olive oil. And this issue of trans fats we are talking about, when you expose oils which are very rich in unsaturated fatty acids to too much heat and you use them repeatedly, you are converting them to trans fats. And look at the practices, our setting, for instance, in Ghana and other African setting, we do fry our foods a lot. And unlike elsewhere where they use temperature regulated equipment for cooking, we don't have that. So assuming you are using olive oil for frying, you are doing yourself more harm than good. Because if you go to areas where these oils are used, they are only used in stir fries. They usually don't fry their foods for longer hours. They eat them either raw, they sprinkle them on salads and eat. But how are we using these olive oils? Rather, you would use coconut oil in frying because you're exposing these oils to very high temperatures and you are probably using them over longer periods. These oils are more stable to heat and you don't destroy the fat in them when they are exposed to heat compared to olive oils and the like. So when I see people using things, they use, say, olive oil, sunflower, canola for frying, and they keep it on the side. Following day, they pick it, use it again for frying. It's scary and it's worrying because you are not using it the right way or for the right purpose.
Thank you. And that's why we have these sessions, because there's a lot we do within our communities, whether it's Africa or in the Caribbean or here amongst African and Caribbean populations living in the UK, so people thinking that, okay, olive oil is a healthy one, and then they repeatedly use it to fry. Now, having said that, would you not even advise that, we don't repeat the oils as much as we do, irrespective of whether it is unsaturated or saturated?
Yes, so repeated usage of oils. There's been, there are a lot of issues around it. People will say, so what do you want me to do with a whole bottle of oil after frying? Do you want me to discard it? How? So it's a whole systems approach to this. If I would say, if I'm cooking with oil and I'm going to use it for frying, you try and use as little as you can for frying. For instance, if you are going to fry something, then let's say you fry yam chips or potato chips, I would rather use oil from the frying, a little of it for cooking my food, rather than keeping it on the side, pick it another time, top it up with new oil and use. Because the more you expose these oils to heat, like I explained, you change the fats in them. You change the fats from good to bad fat, the trans fat, which is causing a lot of problems now.
Thank you.
Mentioned, it's important we do our best to avoid repeated usage of oils. And it also goes to emphasize the fact that this is why you need, as much as possible, you need to prepare your own meals. Because I know because of convenience, sometimes we pick street foods and we do pick foods from other places. But places like our setting where you don't know what people would sell because of profit. They are not really interested in your health or how well they would make sure their food tastes nicer, and they use oils in ways you can't even imagine. People are using a lot of partially hydrogenated oil in all these food chains, fast food. Yes. So one way of avoiding these oils is also eating home-cooked meals where you can control what goes into your food. Just so we're a bit.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I move on. Sorry, my slides are not moving. Okay, yeah. So
because I interrupted you, there was a third point on your previous slide that you were about to talk about.
Yes.
Or you already mentioned that. Okay.
Yes. I explained earlier that when you have these, what we term saturated fats and trans fats, when you have a lot of them, you are consuming high amounts of them. It's increasing what we call the bad carriers or the carriers. I don't want to use the scientific term because carriers that will carry cholesterol to other parts of the body. And earlier in the section, I mentioned that cholesterol is a big deal for people because it's not an essential nutrient. We don't really, without cholesterol, your body can function very well because the body has a way of making cholesterol on its own. So anything that is high in cholesterol, you are careful to check how much you are taking it in so it doesn't cause problems for you.
Phyllis, please, can I ask a quick question? So
yes,
there's a lot of confusion about food, so these fats causing high cholesterol. Is there anything you can say about that? Because then you keep emphasizing that the body produces its own, has the ability to produce cholesterol. So, I don't know if you've come across this on social media. There are some people who say, oh, irrespective of what you eat, it's not going to affect your cholesterol level. Then there are those, I wondered if you could clarify that for us.
All right. So I won't say that is totally true. You can say irrespective because you look at the type of foods you are eating and also the amount you are taking in. Like I mentioned, this saturated fats and trans fatty acids, even trans fatty acid is worse off because I wish I'd put a picture in there. We have these two carriers, okay? I told you earlier that cholesterol is needed for formation of certain substances like hormones in the body. So, but before they are used, you need a carrier, a substance to carry it to where the body can use it for its function. We have two types. So we have what we call the good cholesterol, that is the good carrier. It's another name for it is the high density lipoprotein. And we have what we call the bad cholesterol. It's called the low density lipoprotein. When you are making, and these substances are also made from foods we are eating, the fats we are eating. So if you're eating too much of it, you are sure that some of it is going into producing more of these cholesterol. But then again, what trans fatty acid does is it increases the bad cholesterol, at the same time reduce formation of the good cholesterol. Saturated fats, on the other hand, will increase the bad cholesterol, but does not touch the good cholesterol. So trans fatty acid even has two negative impacts or effects on the body when we are taking them in. So the fat you are taking really matters. The type of fat you are taking really matters, and how much you are taking really matters. Like I said, we can't take fat out of our diet, but there are recommendations on how much fat we are supposed to take that is helpful to the body. So I'm emphasizing this, the type of fat you are consuming matters, and then how much fat you are taking also matters because of what I just explained. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So then we would ask, how much fat should I take in? Now that we've established the differences between the various fats we have, I've explained that saturated fats would raise your blood cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. So we need to cut down on foods high in saturated fat as much as we can. And then, or you could replace them with foods which are rich in unsaturated fatty acids. Then I give an example up there. Then we talk about the unsaturated fatty acids. Oh, they are more friendly, heart friendly. So it's good to eat them, but again, in moderation, like we said. And then you need to eat a range of foods we always recommend, like I said, no single food contains all the nutrients you need, and no single food contains all the bad things we have. So variety is very important here. Once you eat variety from different sources, you are sure that you are getting you are sure that you are likely to get all the different types of fat or nutrients you need for the body. And when it comes to trans fats, WHO recommendation is that in diet, as much as we can, if you can, as much as you can, we should try and take trans fat out of food. I'm sure in places like the UK and other places, there are policies regulating trans fatty acids where industries are made to label or declare how much of these fatty acids they have in their food. But the recommendation is that you should not be, sorry, I'm getting some feedback, okay. The recommendations are that you should not be taking more than 1 gram per, sorry, I'm getting some feedback.
It's fine from my end.
Oh, right, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
So in a typical diet or total, a diet of, say, it's difficult to estimate here, say 2,000 calories, about 20 to 35%, not of the total food, but of the total energy you are getting from the diet should come from fat from all sources. So when we say total energy, when you pick the nutrients in food, there are 3 major nutrients that provide the body with energy. We have carbohydrates, we have our proteins, and we have our fats. So of these 3, about 20 to 35% of the energy the body gets from these nutrients should be coming from our fat. And these fats include both saturated and unsaturated. Trans fatty acid, as much as you can, less than 1% should be coming from trans fats. So as much as you can, you want to rate trans fatty acids from your diet. So I got this, I was trying to see how we could do some simple swaps. I've already mentioned some of the ways we could avoid or we could check we are eating fats the right way and doing it right. One is ensuring that you read labels if you are purchasing food from supermarket or you are picking food from the shelf. You want to take some time to read your label to be sure what kind of fat you have in the food and how much the fat is contained in the food. Also, other smart ways of doing that, if you are getting you are getting meat or chicken and you are using them at home, you want to deliberately, I keep saying, you want to consciously take off the fat, the visible fat, at least, if not for anything, the ones you can see, you want to take them off just so that you know you are not increasing the amount of fat you are getting in your diet. And
but
also,
Phyllis, people say that fat tastes nice.
The sweetest. So, you know, there's always a trade-off. You have to wait and tell yourself the price you pay if you are suffering a health condition because of you taking too much fat than your body needs, than the taste. I know it's a very difficult decision to make, and sometimes we all fall prey, but we have to be conscious about this. People would deliberately go to the butcher shop and ask for fat because they want to make their food look appetizing and attractive. Yeah. So you see soup or stew with fat sitting on top.
Exactly.
You know, these practices, we need to
change them. Having said that, there's a question in the chat box. Let me read it quickly to you. Can one use lots of oil to make stew and then fetch it off during eating in cases of making dry stew? A lot of people from West Africa have this stew they call dry stew with lots of oil. So people know that they shouldn't be drinking the oil. So then they make the stew or the soup with lots of oil, but then some people scoop it away. And then, so what are your comments on this?
I'll say if they are scooping it, then, or if you're fetching the stew and you're making sure you are not adding enough, too much oil, then that is fine. It means you are making conscious effort to reduce the fat in there. I know we are all, but why would you? Because oil too can be costly. Think of, so what do you do with the rest of the oils? Do you throw them away, or do you recycle it? Because remember, if you are recycling the oils too, they also have an effect. So it's difficult. I see a lot of commercial food vendors do this. You see oil sitting on top of the stew.
On top of their stews. I beg to differ on this one, Phyllis. I think that as a community, and when I say community, I'm putting all of us together. So West Africans, a lot more West Africans than East Africans that I know. So West Africans and even Caribbeans, we tend to like to cook that way only because socially foods like that seem to look more appealing or appetizing. That's the only reason it has. Well, some people will tell you it tastes better, but it's just programming. We have grown up in a certain way. You know, our mothers used to cook with lots of oil, and we've just gotten used to that. You know, we need to. That's why we do these educational sessions. You know, knowing what we know that we don't need too much oil. The tendency for people to be able to scoop out the oil or all the oil after they've cooked is it's difficult. I mean, we don't have the time to be able to do that. So we need to make a conscious effort to cut down on the oil. The dry stews we are preparing, we have to try and then reduce it. No, like you said, it's a trade-off, knowing what we know. We need to try and I wouldn't recommend that we cook with it and then scoop it off every now and then, yes. But we should try to get into the habit of not cooking with a lot of oil and get used to that. If we keep seeing that, the oil, the stew or the soup without oil, we'll get used to it. We start in our homes, we train our children, they will grow up to see that, okay, you can prepare tomato stew without a lot of oil and it will still taste good. It is only if we keep having lots of oil like that, then they would also grow up thinking that, okay, this is the only way to prepare this Nigerian stew or this Ghanaian stew. But we need to make a conscious effort to change some of these things that we have grown up with. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. So like I asked, what will if they are going to even scoop it off, what are they going to use that oil for?
Some people might stick with it, some might throw it away.
Yes, and think of even the cost. Like you said, why would you cook with it and scoop it and throw it away? It's also, you're throwing away money. That's money and don't forget that some of the nutrients in the stew would seep into the oil and you are getting rid of the oil. You may lose some of the vitamins or essential nutrients you would need in the food, in the oil. It goes in there. There are exchange, nutrients move across this medium when you are cooking. So once you scoop and throw it away, you are throwing away some. So like Hibbah, you rightly mentioned, we need to train ourselves to do this the right way. So yeah, thanks for that addition. So please, are there any more questions or I can continue? Hello?
No, not at the moment. Please continue.
All right.
Not at the moment.
So, yeah, there are many ways. I'm sure most of the participants online have even smarter ways of doing this, and it will be good after this presentation when it's time for questions. People would share some of their personal experiences on how they manage to cut down on fats and how they are doing it in their own way, so we can all learn. Like I said, when you're choosing foods, you want to be deliberate. You want to be conscious about the kind of fat in there. So for full cream, when we say foods containing full cream, they usually have 100% fat. No fat has been taken. So you want to go for options like skimmed or say for milk, you want to go for milks that are partially or some part of fat, some fat has been taken away. I know this issue is not one size fits all because children need more fats. They are growing, they are forming new cells, So for me, what I do is when you are buying milk, you buy one for the adults and then you buy one for the kids. so they could also get their full, they will meet their nutrient needs. But these are things we need to be conscious about. Like I said, if you're buying meat and there is fat, visible fat, you consciously have to. I spend so much time cleaning my meat when I buy them, because you have to be taking off. And like you said, when you fry, when you cook chicken without the skin, eating it, sometimes people say, oh, it's not as sweet as with the skin, but you think of the long-term implications. So you are choosing more fish over meat. And quite recently, issues on sustainable diets. We are saying that when we are doing more of these red meats and all, it's not, we also are thinking of the carbon print, the effect on the environment, and it will come to haunt all of us. So when we are making food choices, we have the broader or the bigger picture in mind, and we make those sacrifices thinking of the future, thinking of our children, how this is going to affect them. Also, sorry, my screen is not moving. I think I have the last one. Sorry, my screen is not moving.
That's fine. Whilst okay, you try to, has it moved?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, go on. I had a question, but let me let you finish and then we can answer the question. Phyllis, are you there?
Okay, so for I mentioned trans fats. So a typical example of, yes, please. Yes. Okay. Please, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello? Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes. So a typical example of trans fats is margarines. So margarines are made from oils, vegetable oils, but they've been processed to look semi-solid or solids. And most of the baked food products are, we use margarines a lot in baking this. So what we call them hidden fats. So you'll be eating your cookies and your cakes and all, and you're taking a lot of fat. So you want to cut down, or you swap it for plain ones, or instead of eating a bun with coating with all these, I'm forgetting the term for it, what we put on the, sometimes cake with icing and all. Yeah, you want to go for plain buns just to cut down on some fat. Also, if you want dried, you could replace high fat, these with healthy snacks like dried fruits. And you want to cut down on, instead of, for instance, frying your chicken or your meat, you want to bake them. So you reduce the fat, because especially in Ghana, I can talk for Ghana, and I'm sure it's very common in other parts of Africa. People would fry chicken before they use it in their stews. So you fry, you get some oil in the chicken, then they still stew, puts the chicken in the stew. So why not bake it? Why not steam it and have it directly in the stew or put on the side? So there are smarter ways of going around this so that we don't eat too much fat. We cut down fat, or we eat them in moderation.
Okay, Phyllis, let me come in here. You know, I mean, even though you're based in Ghana, the reason why I invited you is because, you know, my research has focused on dietary behaviors of African migrants. Now, the evidence shows that for a lot of African migrants, we still maintain the same dietary behaviors we had before. You know, and it's the same goes for Caribbean people. You know, we kind of maintain the same old dietary behaviors. So what you're talking about still applies. Lots of West Africans here would fry their meat and their chicken and then now put it in the sauce that already has oil. Yeah, so yeah, it applies to us, all of us. That's why I thought you could do this talk for us. Yeah. Phyllis, we have a few more minutes. Are you able to wrap up in like 3 or 4 minutes? 3 minutes?
Yeah. So yeah, in conclusion, my take home is that we need fat in our diet for proper functioning of the human body, as well as to help us with even food consumption, because fat add taste to food. It also increases satiety. But the issue here is that, one, we need to take fat in moderation. Two, we need to use fats or oils the right way. Okay, and then three, we have to find smart ways of cutting down fat by being vigilant, reading, or making sure we desist from unhealthy cooking practices or use of oils like what you are saying. frying food over time, frying before you put it in another stew, when you could just bake it or steam it and use it. And so in summary, that is what I would say, and I'll pause here for questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Phyllis. Can you stop sharing your screen? So there was a question that was sent to me directly. So someone said, so are we, and that people, not everyone would know what this is. So Ghanaians, Nigerians will know what is called shito. It's a sauce that is made of dried fish, dried shrimps. And usually, in order to make it stay, to have a longer shelf life, we use a lot of oil, to prepare it. So the person is like, so are we saying they should not have their shito? That's not what we are saying at all. First of all, the way I know how shito is used is that, you just take a little. And Phyllis, correct me. So, I mean, shito is not something that replaces your stews or your soups. So if you have to prepare your shito the same way you've always known, I would say, by all means, stick with that, because at the end of the day, you're just having a little spoon. And then that is where what Phyllis talked about comes in handy. So you can make sure you're taking it without the oil, which you can, because the oil just stays on it. My preference would be that we try to prepare it with less oil, so we don't have that much oil on it. But I can understand, because back in Africa, people prepare that way because they wanted to stay for months for secondary school or people traveling, and that helps it to stay longer. But again, when you're eating it, just make sure the oil is off it. And it's not your everyday thing. So you can prepare your everyday tomato stew, your soups without oil. If you are, because when I'm preparing my meat, the way I prepare it, it already comes, I steam it a bit and it comes with oil. So I don't have to use oil when I'm using meat to cook. I think Phyllis was asking for people to share some of their tips. And this will be a good time for anybody to share their thoughts before we conclude. Or someone says, Jetty says, or the shito can be prepared with plant-based products. Okay. Do you want to throw some light on it? Like what?
Hi, Hibbah. I saw someone on YouTube who is now a vegetarian, and she prepared her shito with soya bean powder.
Okay.
So instead of the shrimps and the fish and all that, everything was plant-based.
Right. And did she use oil? She definitely used oil.
She used some oil,
Okay. Well, was it very little, or the same old
very
way?
little oil. Very little oil. And even with the animal products that have got a lot of oil on them, they are now plant-based products that tastes like. So nowadays, when I'm eating my burger, you would think I'm eating like a beef burger, but it's actually not beef.
You have your plant-based burgers as well.
Yes, and it tastes equally good.
Thank you for that. So I have yes, please.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, if we are making it for students who are going to school, and of course, when we're in schools, nobody drinks the oil on top of the shito. But if you are making it home, you could also make it very dry. Because you can keep it in the refrigerator and
exactly.
Yeah.
So someone put it on in the chat earlier that so I think this had to do with when I said we should try and make changes to the way we've been brought up. She says this is a dangerous practice since fat has already been absorbed in the meat. That's the reason why we advise the removal of visible fats before cooking. Thank you so much. Do we have any more comments? We don't have a lot of time. Anyone wants to share what they are doing differently to help us? Because all of us are culprits. Anyone has any question or clarification? We've learned about coconut oils. We've learned about what's the other one? Palm oil, all the confusion on social media. I believe now we know what to do. If there isn't any question, Phyllis, my last question to you, how much would you say is moderate if you were preparing stew?
That's where we always make recommendations, but when it comes to practice. So, in settings like the UK, there are standard measuring things. Here in Ghana, so let's say if for an average person, how much oil or fat is going into your diet? Let me measure with a tablespoon. Tablespoon in a day, should you be doing like, it's difficult, should you be doing like a maximum of like 3 tablespoons in a day in your diet? I'll leave this to the dietitian. So yeah, I'm not able to translate it into measures.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. In the UK recommendations, where we use a hand, the hand gestures to demonstrate portion size, it is always this bit of it. They always say this little bit of it. So it's more like, I call it like a pinch. Yeah, that's what they use in that UK guidelines. Anyway, do we have any comments from anybody on there? I see a few of our nutritionists and dietitians on there. Do you want to comment? Anything you want to add to what Phyllis has said?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, I just want to make a little contribution to what Phyllis has said. She has actually done justice to the topic, but I want to go practical because I believe a lot of women are on this platform. Yep. So what I do with my chicken is I first boil them and remove the chicken stock, and then grill the chicken because my children like the chicken with the skin. But to reduce the fats, after boiling, I now grill the chicken. But people that come from my own part of the world, like Nigeria, where they prepare a lot of jollof rice and fried rice and things like that, and they like to use the chicken stock for the jollof rice. What I do, because once you get out the stock from the chicken, you see the oil, the fat of the chicken right on top of the stock. So I put the stock in the freezer and the oil cakes up. When the oil cakes up, I now remove the oil cake on top of the stock, because I want to use that chicken stock to prepare jollof rice. So when the oil cakes up in the freezer, I remove the cake on top of it. By removing that cake, I will have removed almost all the oil from the stock. So I can now use the stock to prepare the jollof rice or fried rice or whatever kind of rice. So that is the practical thing that I do.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And Mariam is also a nutrition lecturer here in the UK. Thank you so much for contributing.
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, all too soon, we have to bring this session to an end. It's already 7 o'clock. And yes, another person put something in there. Someone on a 2,000 kilocalories should not consume more than 78 grams of fat. That is equivalent to 5. What is TBS of fat? Bear in mind there is fat in many foods. Tablespoons. Okay. So that is equivalent to 5 tablespoons of fat, right? Okay, please, I want to know. Okay, there's a lot more questions come, guys. Thank you so much. We are taking some time from Orlando, who is doing the next session, but clearly that shows that this was a very important topic. Thank you so much for the engagement. We'll definitely call on Phyllis to come again in the coming weeks or months to do another interesting and important topic for us, something that is really relevant, and then learn some practical tips as to how to apply the knowledge. Please do stay on. We have our next session, which is our exercise session. I see some more comments coming in the chat box. We will continue next week with another interesting nutrition topic. And so thank you so much for the engagement. Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. I think everyone enjoyed it. And there are lots of comments in the chat box to say that you did justice to the topic. Yes. Okay. So Orlando, over to you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Hibbah, thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed that amazing seminar. I think all that talk about food has made me really hungry. So I can't wait to have some food after this session. All right, so welcome to today's session. We've got Pilates coming your way. our second Pilates session of this series. For today's session, you need a mat, plenty of space, and plenty of water. All right, so again, working on stretching the body, being at peace, working on our breath work, and kind of resetting the body from all the hard work we've done over the last few years. All right, so let's start with a warm-up. We're going to start off with some side steps for 30 seconds. And give people about 5-10 seconds to grab your mats or water if you need to. So we're going to go straight into a warm-up. We've got 30 seconds of side steps, okay? So if you're ready, get to your spaces, and let's begin. Set my shoes up. Everybody's ready and at their spaces. Let's start off on the trot. Get ready. Nice and light. Next. Go. Nice and light. Working out 3 out of 10. 1 being sat down on the couch watching TV. 10 being the hardest. Working out 3 out of 10. Five seconds. Next, let's go to the reach. Step down. Nice and high. Let's go. Nice and slow and controlled. That's it, people. Keep going. Two. 4. Okay, next move. Jogging on the spot. Nice and light. Let's go. Nice and light. Again. 3 out of 10. Three, 2, 1. Okay, take a few sips of water, 15-second break, and then break back into our walk. Okay, people, let's get straight back into our warm-up. Okay, next move. Got lateral slides. We're gonna go 1 step each side. So nice and low, 1 step there, 1 step there. Okay, 30 seconds. Let's go, people, get ready. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Nice and light. Ten seconds. 1. Back to your light jog. Ten seconds. 5, 2, 1. That's what we've got 4 steps. Gonna be here, nice and upright. Take a step forward. Alternate. Let's go. 10 seconds, people. 2, 1. Last time. Okay. Again, take a 15-second water break, and then we'll go straight into the session. Okay, go back to your spaces. All right, so like we did last week, before we get into our series of stretches, we want to calm the body down, okay, calm the mind down. We're going to do some breath work. All right, we've got 2 sets of breath work. So, again, like we did last week, we're going to be nice and upright. What we're going to do, we're going to clear the mind. We're going to breathe in for 3 seconds through the nose and breathe out for 3 seconds through the nose. Okay, really get all that oxygen into the lungs, really inflate the lungs, and let it all out. Okay, we've got 60 seconds. So back to your spaces, people. Let's start our breath work in 3, 2, 1. Okay, relax now. Three seconds in, 3 seconds out. All through the nose. "15 seconds. Keep at it. Calm the mind, calm the muscles. 2, 1. Okay, relax for 15. Okay, so set number 2, we're going to inhale for 3. But now I want you to pause for 1. So you're going to be then exhale. So inhale for 3 seconds, pause for 1. So hold your breath for 1 second, and then exhale for 3 seconds. Let's go 60 seconds, people. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Let's let everything down. 10 seconds. Last one. Well done, breath work done. All right, again, 20 seconds, quick water break. Then we're going to go into our Pilates movements. Well done. Okay, people, let's go. All right, so bring your mats in now. Get your mats handy. So each move we do tonight, just like last week, we'll do for 2 sets of 60 seconds. Okay, and there might be a couple of variations here and there. So first move, working on the hip flexors and the core and posture. Okay, it's called the double tabletop. So watch me now. I'm going to be on my back, like so. Flat on my back, arms on the floor. Right. So what I'm going to do, head on the floor, around. I'm just bringing my knees right here. Okay. So I'm taking all that weight off the legs, bringing all that blood back to the body, back to the heart. All right. So flat here. Again, while we do the stretch, work on your breath work. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, and try and hold this posture here, hold this position right here. Again, we've got 2 sets of 60 seconds. Okay, let's go. All right, so double tabletop. Get ready, people, to your mats, on your back, palms on the floor. Get ready. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Keep those knees nice and high. Feet to come down for a second, and do so, and then straight back. Breathe. Keep the breath work going. Hold your position. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Get your legs down and relax. It's down 1 set to come. Really important to work with the breath work while we give this moves. Again, while we're stretching the muscles, calming the mind. Okay. 5 seconds. Okay, let's go back into it again. Back. Double tabletop in 3, 2. Careful. 15 seconds to go. Relax, people. Sit. Get into your feet nice and slow. Okay, let's take on some water for 20 seconds. Okay, people, last few sips of water. Let's get back to the middle now. All right. So next move, we're going to work on some strength and stability in the hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back. We've got glute bridges. All right, so what we do. Again, we're going to do the back, flat on the back. This time we're going to have our feet down, okay, down here. Nice and flat. What we're going to do, we're going to dig our heels in the ground. We're going to push through the heels. As we push through the heels, bring in the bum up nice and tall. Okay, nice and controlled. Okay, turn nice and flat from the heels. See my heels on the screen. Dig through the heels. Drive up. Squeeze the hamstrings. Squeeze the bum. Turn right down flat. Okay. Again, we're going to do this move. Got 2 sets of 60 seconds. All right, people, let's go. All right. Backs on the mat. Legs dug in. Get ready. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Nice and slow. Raise, hold, squeeze. Back down, nice and flat. Make sure you come to a complete rest at the bottom. Set the body, reset. Again. Seven seconds. One. And people relax. Lay flat if you want to. Relax your body. Work on your breath work. Second set, not 15 seconds. Okay, people, let's go to set number 2 now. Again, bridge. But nice and flat. Palm on the floor. You go to the ground. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Nice contraction at the top, squeeze, and down, press, up, squeeze, down. "15 seconds. Three, 2, 1. Let's go. Back to your feet nice and slow. Take a quick 20-second water break. Okay, for this next move, you can push your mats to the side. Want to be on our feet standing. Okay, so this next move is extended torso twist. All right, working on the core, working on the neck, shoulders, lower back. All right, so go through here. Have our arms out like so. Legs facing forward, hips facing forward, and we're just going to twist as far as you feel comfortable. All right, if you can get to there, if that's your point there, that's fine. If you can get a little bit further, that's fine too. All right, we're going to go to one side at a time. All right, so you see me, obviously I'm a mirror image. I'm twisting to my left. Then I will back to the middle, and twist left again. Then we'll go to the right for 60 seconds. All right, people, let's go. Extended arm, torso twist. Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 10 seconds. Time. Okay. Taking that confidence so gently. Opposite side, 60 seconds. Let's rest for another 10. Okay, people, let's go to the opposite side now. Okay, 60 seconds. Extend your down torso tips. Let's go. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Too long. Fifteen seconds. Two, 1. Good. Take it all off. All right, take another 20-second water break. Go down with some breath work. Okay, work with some breath work to finish. Well done. All right, people, back to your spaces. All right, let's finish the session with some breath work. All right, so this time now, I know we started off with 3 in, 3 out. This time let's try and go 4 in, 1 second pause, and then exhale 4. Okay, 60 seconds to finish. All right, bring the body back to normal. All right, let's get ready, people. Get ready, people. 3, 2, 1. 4 in. halfway. Three, 2. People, well done. Shake everything off. And now it's time, people. CAHN, are you still in the house?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Orlando, for that workout. And I believe we can expect the similar thing next week as well.
Yeah, so again, that was week 2 of this 4-week block. And I'm getting so many benefits from it already. I was so relaxed. Nice. And it's kind of like reversing what I'm doing in the gym, all the heavy lifting and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely making my body feel more relaxed. I feel a bit more stretched out, a bit more upright. I'd say as well.
That's good. Your posture, it needs that as well. That's good.
100%.
Yeah. And yeah, again, thank you so much, Orlando. And if anyone has any questions from our previous seminar talk, you can feel free to email them at health@CAHN. I know everyone was typing in the chat box last minute, so if you have any questions remaining, feel free to contact us. and we'll see you next week at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Well done, people.